For more than 50 years, the special economic zones have been used as a model of development the world over. This concept that started in South Asia, it has taken pace here in Africa, with Kenya establishing the economic or the export processing zone back in 1990 and the special economic zone in 2015 to drive socio-economic development here in Kenya. What have we achieved with this model? Good evening and thank you for joining us. You're right on time for Inside Government, the most comprehensive coverage of government issues this side of the world. My name is O'Brien Kimani. In the next 1 hour or so, we shall be discussing the impact of special economic zones. And this is coming at a time when Kenya is talking about merging CESA with EPZA. Is that a viable option? That's a question that we're going to be dealing with. This, of course, I told you, is Inside Government, and of course, we are live from Broadcasting House. I have my team of guests in studio with us. We're talking to Special Economic Zone Authority, and of course, in studio, we have the Chief Executive Officer of the Special Economic Zone. This is Dr. Kenneth Chelule. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Dr.
Thank you, O'Brien.
And of course, next to Kenneth, we have Richard Omelu. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Export Processing Zone Authority.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Very good. I just want to start with Richard, by the virtue of the fact that, your institution is the oldest in this game. What would you say has been the impact of having the export processing zone in Kenya?
Thank you, O'Brien. I want to start by, first of all, elaborating who is or what is the Export Processing Zones Authority. The Export Processing Zones Authority is a state agency under the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. We are established by an Act of Parliament, EPZ Act of 1990, with the primary mandate of promoting and facilitating export-oriented investments, and also to provide an enabling environment for such investments. Mm-hmm. The authority has been there. It is abbreviated as EPZA. It has been there since 1990. And this institution was established by the government, really with the primary mandate really to see that we increase our export base as a country, and through that to increase our foreign income or foreign exchange earnings, and also to spur industrial growth. This authority has been there, and it is mandated to really ensure that we promote industrial growth, we promote balanced economic development as a country, and we perform various functions. Briefly, let me elaborate so that now we come to the successes that we've been able to cover to record over the period of 35 years or so. As EPZA, we are mandated by the government to really to designate export processing zones. This we do in collaboration, or we initiate the process, then we escalate to our parent ministry so that now specific zones can be set up. Number two is that as an agency of the government, we administer an incentive system. Within the EPZ program, it is provided for that we administer special incentives aimed at spurring or attracting investments in the country. Mm-hmm. Within the zones, we note that there are quite a number of incentives that we'll be able to discuss maybe at a later point as we continue the discussion. Mm-hmm. Number three is that we also receive applications for those investors that wish to be areas to be gazetted as zones or EPZ operators. We directly participate in performing due diligence or evaluation of those applications. We also, as a regulator, enforce other requirements, administer necessary legislation, administer necessary requirements within the zone to ensure that all operators abide by the necessary provisions as per the EPZ Act. O'Brien, looking at EPZ or EPZA, it has been there since 1990. Mm-hmm. This is
So we are talking about 32 years.
about 32 years or thereabout. This is an institution that has revolutionized this country. And I want to just look at a few parameters just to demonstrate how the program has been instrumental in promoting growth and also in promoting exports. I just want to give a few cases or key parameters. On exports, we have been able to push exports. As in the year 2024, we're able to really push exports to 129 billion through the export processing zones program. This is a milestone that really is remarkable in terms of the percentage contribution to national export, which is about the total export of in the year 2024 of about 1.1 trillion. We're able to really contribute 11.6% as under the EPZ program. Secondly,
is that a good number from your assessment?
From my assessment, yes, it's a good number, and there's room, and we are doing everything possible to increase that percentage to around 15%, and be able to elaborate the measures that we're putting in place. In terms of employment creation, O'Brien, under the EPZ program, we've been able to provide job opportunities to our fellow Kenyans to a tune of 89,941 in the year of in 2024. Looking at that,
so that is the total employment number
absolutely,
through EPZA.
Absolutely. Now, the most important thing again under the employment area is the thematic area is that most of these opportunities have been accorded to women and youth. That is key in terms of really ensuring that young people and women are actually participate in productive employment.
So there is an affirmative action component part of your operations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want to hear these from you. I mean, when you look at the city of Shenzhen in China, it is regarded as the best model of what export processing zones and, of course, the special economic zones can do from a humble fishing small town back in 1980s to one of the most advanced cities in the world with a population of almost 20 million people. Shenzhen stands as a model. Why don't we have Athi River, Kitengela, Machakos looking like Shenzhen?
If you come to Kitengela and Athi River on any day of the week, I want to tell you that the growth that we have seen in Kitengela and Athi River is directly as a result of the EPZ program. On daily basis, we receive about 32,000 employees who are engaged in about 98 companies within the Athi River zone.
The Athi River zone only?
Absolutely. 32,000 Kenyans, and notably mostly women and youth. The developments you see in Kitengela, the facilities, the banks that you see in Kitengela, the health facilities that we see in Kitengela and Athi River by extension, is because of the EPZ program. I want to confirm that directly we have and we still continue to play a role in promoting growth of Athi River. And therefore, I want to confirm that the model that you are implementing in Athi River is similar to what we want to implement in other flagship zones or flagship zones that we are currently operating or managing on behalf of the government. And therefore, I want to really authoritatively confirm that from the humble beginnings, because I'm sure Kitengela was just more of a market, even 10 years ago, it was not as big as it is today. The traffic that you see, the people that you see living within Kitengela is courtesy of the EPZ program.
It was actually, an expansive grassland savanna, about 20, 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
I'll be coming back to you just to find out what is the contribution of the EPZ within, apart from the jobs that you've talked about, in terms of economic development. What has been the impact of the export processing zones in the economy of in the economies of Kajiado County as well as Machakos County, where you have the biggest impact. But I'll be coming back to you. I want to hear this from Daktari. I mean, you are the newest baby. You know, you were established in 2015. It took about 4 or 5 years, you know, to operationalize the institution. Now we're talking about 5 years of Special Economic Zones Authority. What would you say you would pride yourself in as the biggest achievement of this authority?
Thank you, O'Brien, and good evening, viewers. Thank you for the opportunity to engage with you in making Kenyans understand what is going on in the investment space. As you rightfully said, we are a baby, a few years old. Actually, this is our 10th year of existence legally, operationally since 2019, and as a CEO since 2023. So between 2019 and 2023, we had an interim team that shaped the organization. Maybe for purposes of the viewers getting to know why such program exists, it is important to know that, as you said earlier, the special economic zones in the current shape was informed by early developments in places such as Ireland, who were the first in the 50s to set up an incentivized zone. And that, in terms of people who understand special economic zone, is called economic zone 1.0. Then we moved to 2.0, where we had from specialized special economic zone to multifunctional. And as things evolved, there was need, as we exploit resources, to consider environment. Then we had 3.0, which is an eco-friendly industrial park. Since then, we moved on to 4.0, which kind of digital. And as we are now, globally, we're at the space of smart SEZ, or smart special economic zones. In Kenya, as you said, we began in 2015 legally. It's been a journey. I want to say that special economic zones program is more or less similar in many ways to EPZ program, except a few areas. What informs special economic zone is the development in places such as China. You said Shenzhen was a swamp and an area that was specialized in fishing not so long ago, or 20 years ago. The settings of an SEZ is more or less to follow those examples that have successfully been implemented elsewhere in places like Morocco, Egypt, Dubai, and China. China is what it is because of SEZ. In terms of mandate, of course, we are set up by an act of parliament, and in terms of mandate, we primarily have a dual mandate. We regulate special programs in this country, and we also have the mandate of developing some of the zones. In our case, Naivasha Special Economic Zone. When we began, we had, remember, we started from zero. Today, as we speak, we've got 92 enterprises that have been licensed. We've got 45 special economic zones, and they take different shape. As an authority, we focus on the size of land, the activities that are taking place in this zone. So just like our sister institution does, there are requirements that one must meet in order to declare a place a special economic zone. And for people who may wish to know inside of special economic zone, in terms of custom law, it is considered to be outside of Kenya. And special economic zone can sell products into the country and outside of the country. Therefore, it's a very sensitive program which has to be treated a bit differently because it has the risk of cannibalizing existing industries within a country.
What have you learned in your short span as an authority? I mean, you gave some impressive statistics about how many establishments you have made. What have you learned in your short span as an authority?
So first, as I transit into what we've learned, so there have been a few achievements. Despite that, we've obviously operationalized the program.
Yes.
from about 5 years ago, to the extent that we now have those numbers we're talking about. And it's been a learning curve. You know, we had to set up frameworks, procedures on how to administrate over SEZ program. As I said, you know, we are competing. The same incentives we offer in Kenya are offered in Rwanda. They're offered in Dubai. They're offered elsewhere. So, and what we've learned is that investors have choices.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is not about just incentives. It's about how the program is implemented. How do we treat our investors? So Kenya today, what we learn is that has put up this these incentives, a program that has captured the attention of people like Microsoft, G42. We've had Ling Long paying attention to what's going on here, thinking of setting up shop here. ICRC, International Committee on Red Cross, has closed some of its offices elsewhere in the continent and in Gulf countries to set up shop in Nairobi. And today we're servicing war zones from Nairobi, whether it's Gaza, Ukraine, and many others. That is what we've learned is that Kenya is in a position to compete globally.
Very well. When you, and it is true, I mean, when you look at, you know, what, you know, the special economic zones have managed to do to the socio-economic landscape of Kenya, I mean, it's quite phenomenal. But if you talk to the people in the streets, do they appreciate what the special economic zones are doing? If no, then where is the disconnect, and then how do we close that gap?
Obviously, an average person today knows what Tatu City is, knows what Konza is,
Yeah.
they know what Naivasha is, okay?
Dongo
They may not
Kundu.
know Ndogo Kundu, and we want to thank the President of the Republic of this country, Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto. He's been our champion in creating the awareness about the program. Yes, we are still on this journey of sensitizing, creating awareness among Kenyans, and also among investors around the world. And especially, what is it that is in it for the various sectors of the economy? If you are a mama mboga, how can you play a role in the zone? If you are a youth, how can you play a role? If you are a woman, if you are a person with disability, if you are an investor, if you are an SME, if you are an innovator, we, as a program, have option for all these people. We currently, and this is something that we must note about special economic zone, being a new program, we are currently in a construction mode. We are still developing the zone, putting up the necessary infrastructure. Even the more advanced special economic zones such as Tatu City and Nairobi Gate, the infrastructure is still being put in place. Wherever there's an infrastructure, there are people, whether they are graduates of TVET or lay people, they are participating in the construction. So there are jobs. There are tenders to supply materials, whether it's sand and others.
Very good.
And those that have moved on, we now have business processing outsourcing companies that have set up shop in this country. The youth, and I want to quote a few examples like Tele and others, who are getting employed in this job. They can operate and earn a revenue out of their skills from the universities. They can get into gainful job
employment.
Yes.
I'll come back to you because I would really want to find out then, you know, the special economic zones, I mean, they don't just focus on international companies. They also focus on local companies. And the government is at the forefront of encouraging SMEs to grow from micro to medium to small to major corporations. And so do they have a space in special economic zones? I'll be coming back to you, but I want to find that. I want to turn to Richard. When you look at the location of the export processing zone, which is in Machakos County.
Yes.
Would there be Machakos town? Would there be Kitengela? Would there be, what's the other small town there? Would there be those towns without EPZA in that region?
Without EPZ or EPZA without in those regions, I want to say that authoritatively that we will not be having those estates or towns. And I'm confident because what we've seen in Athi River and Kitengela, I mentioned that we have, like within Athi River, 32,000
People working
in the EPZ program.
Mm-hmm.
These 32,000 people support about, each one of them supports about 3 more people. So the multiplier effect here is that for the 32,000 people working in Athi River EPZ, earning a livelihood, they are supporting like an additional 90,000 people plus those who are employed.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at 90,000 people within an area like Kitengela and Athi River. The backward linkages in terms of those who use public transport within Athi River, the banks within Athi River, because financial services plays a key role, the small traders, the micro and small and medium enterprises within Athi River, the housing within Athi River and Kitengela has really grown because of that program. And therefore, within this program, the way you are replicating it and the way I'm projecting to replicate it, I expect that it's a learning curve, that Athi River is a mature zone. We are using the same lessons even as we are setting up other public zones. And I want to mention that we have, within the EPZ program, we have 105 zones, EPZ zones. Out of the 105, 9 of them are public zones, meaning they're established on public parcels of land. 96 of the 105 are set up in private zones. Equally, private zones have contributed to growth of towns within their localities. A case in hand is Ruiru. We have seen that growth in Ruiru as a result of EPZ program or EPZ companies or operators. We have seen that in Mtwapa, along Mombasa, Malindi Highway. We expect to see that even in new zones that will be setting up. And therefore, based on the direct and indirect jobs that are created and opportunities that are created as a result of having a zone within the locality, it directly spurs growth. I also want to mention that we have many products that are processed in these EPZs. A case in hand in Athi River, we have operators or companies that process avocado. We have companies that process macadamia nuts. I have a company that makes dart boards. And as a result of these companies here, it directly feeds into the community. And just to mention again how we are performing by the year 2024, that the backward linkages that we've been able to create in the year 2024 amounts to about 23 billion was spent on backward linkages within the communities, which really affects even the farmers. And remember, agriculture and MSME is one of the pillars under the bottom-up economic transformation. So this program directly fits into the priority of the government. And I am confident that even in the zones, the public zones that are putting up, within Machakos, for instance, another one is Kenania, where we have a leather park. We have all the enablers that are putting in place. In the next few months, expect that Kenania will grow just like what Kitengela has experienced over time, and Athi River by extension. So directly, through various linkages, both backward and forward, towns, we are actually contributing directly to development of towns and also attracting other amenities near the zones where they're set up. Yes.
You see, when you look at the special economic zones, I mean not special economic zones, but the export processing zones, I mean, We're talking about 35 years since this concept was adopted here in Kenya. Is it your qualified opinion that it is high time that we relooked at this concept and ask ourselves hard questions? How do we retweak this model? Do we need to improve on it? Can we go on with it the way it is? Is it your opinion that the time is now?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the EPZ program has been evolving over time. When we were starting up, when the program was starting, mostly it was on industrial growth, focusing on industries. And around 2000, with the enactment of AGOA, it shifted more on textile and apparel.
Yeah.
Along the way now, in the program, we are widening our scope in terms of looking beyond just manufacturing, but now we are looking at service provision or BPOs, that is the business, we have business service outsourcing. We're also looking at other services such as logistics. And again, within the same program, we are widening our scope because now we are attracting even local investors. For a very long time, the program was associated just with textile and mostly foreigners. But I want to confirm that we have taken it upon ourselves also to promote our own or local investors so that they can also participate in the program. And just to confirm that, in the zones that we are setting up, in the new zones that we are setting up in about 4 counties, we are giving an opportunity and sensitizing communities where those zones are located.
Very good. I want you to hold it there because we'll be coming back so that we can discuss more. Well, if you're just joining us, we are having a very interesting conversation here on the role of socio-economic zones in turning around Kenya's socio-economic development. And we're in the company of the Socio-Economic Zone Authority as well as the Export Processing Zone Authority on my immediate left. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. I just wanted to hear from you. When you look at socio-economic zones, the model has been used elsewhere. I mean, it has worked very well in Thailand. It has worked very well in Malaysia, in China. Can it work here in Kenya? And if it can work, what do we need to ensure that we make it work properly?
Yes, my immediate answer is yes. It has worked elsewhere. It is beginning to take shape in Kenya. It's early days. All right, we're in the formative stage. Yeah. And I think for purposes of contextualizing, you had asked me a question much about SMEs and innovators.
Yes.
Globally, we have FDI worth $1.34 trillion. Out of that, 53 comes to Africa.
53%?
53 million.
53
billion.
53 billion US dollars.
Yes.
Of foreign direct investment.
1.5 come to Kenya. Billion.
Of this 53?
Of 53. This is according to UNCTAD reports.
So we have 53 going to Africa, 1.5 coming to Kenya. So you have about 53 billion US dollars, going to the rest of Africa.
Yes. And
is that a good number?
Of course, it's not a good number, and that is the reason why these two programs exist. Because we need to fight for the space to get more numbers. For example, it's a target of the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry that we reach $10 billion.
$10 billion worth of FDI.
Of FDI. It shows you that so far FDI, we are not there yet. That's why there's also space for DDI, domestic direct investment. Yeah. All right? Now, and for Kenyans and Kenyan entrepreneurs, as he said, has been evolving. We've been listening to our investors, whether international or local. One of the things that we did in 2023 was to introduce a division of a special economic zones into 2. A custom area where incentives are offered to those who are domiciled in that space, and a non-custom for anyone else who may want to relate as an OEM supplier, or you want to put in government offices or schools that support the special economic zone. This is very important. And in fact, as he said, is operate in such a way that you can sell your product locally and abroad. For those who have done business abroad, one of the first questions you can ask is, tell us your experience. Okay? Who have you supplied to? What are the currency of trade? CIF, FOP, there are some terminologies. Those you cannot build in day one. So you have to use the local market. This then give opportunity for people who want to grow to use the local market to grow to a certain level, for which then you transfer into special economic zones. And of course, we have a criteria on how you can transit from a normal company, meet certain criteria to become an SEZ. So therefore, if you are a young and upcoming entrepreneur, you can work with us and we can support you to the extent that you may not only become a supplier, but you can also be a manufacturer or a service provider dealing abroad after a period of experience.
I want to hear this from you. I mean, you know, when you look at the last 5 years, I mean, this is what you'd call the proof of concept stage, whereby you're trying to see whether the concept can work. And we had these from a cabinet memo I think it was last month, but one, that there are plans to merge the two institutions, EPZA and SEZ. You know, the history of Kenya and special economic zones it goes way back to 2009 when Kenya was developing the Vision 2030. And when you look at the Vision 2030, it has a component of SEZ as enablers of industrialization in Kenya, and of course, deepening manufacturing. It talks about the Lamu SEZ, the Dongo Kudu, and the Naivasha. What is your thought on these, you know, in merging these two institutions? Is it the right way to go?
What are we doing in the space of investment around incentivized program? We want to give clarity to our investors. We need to minimize confusion. We need to minimize noise. The conversation about merger is not a Kenyan discussion. I can tell you, last year, 2023, the conversation around having SEZ and EPZ began. In fact, there was a policy which was done by the ESC partners that then recognized that EPZ is a program under SEZ. Regulations were passed last year. So what the cabinet has made a decision on is in tandem with the conversation going on within the partner state of East Africa. Because when you go to Tanzania, the leading program is EPZ. They don't have an SEZ. Same in Uganda is free trade zone. So the idea is also to harmonize, not just in Kenya, but across. But I think the bottom line is this. What do investors get from Kenya in the way of incentives? Does it cause confusion? So the conversation about merger was just to make sure that there's no noise, that we are speaking the same language. And in principle, the two programs actually are almost similar in many ways. Hence the reason of conversation. So if we achieve the numbers we want, for example, increase to $10 billion, then the purpose for merger is already achieved. And in principle, we all agree that there is need to harmonize the two programs.
To harmonize,
yes,
but not to merge.
Whether it's a merger or just harmonizing, but of course, why would you?
Is there a space for the two institutions?
Currently, I can tell you, and my colleague is here, there is a lot of interest in the program, both our program and their program. And I can tell you, investors are well informed, especially coming from outside. They will tell you, and this is how we guide them. I want from the word go to export. Okay? That clearly says I want to be in an APZ environment. Others will tell you, my primary market will start in Kenya and the region and then outside. That tells you they are after SEZ. So it's even clear from the investors what they want, especially those coming from outside. So in other words, the conversation is just to, as I said, to make sure that there is a smooth conversation, smooth facilitation, so that we are not giving conflicting messages.
I'm sure you all know Vimalsha. He's an industrialist and also the chairperson of BIDCO Africa. He's raising a question here, and he's asking, what is the difference between an SEZ and a company that is manufacturing in Kenya? And what is stopping us from making all industries SEZ, as it's all about reducing regulations. Would you respond to that? That is a question from Vimalsha.
Thank you. Before I go straight to the question, I think I want to echo what my colleague has actually stated, is that there is need to synchronize this program. From my experience, I've been in the authority for, this is my second year now. Investors always ask me questions in terms of what's the difference between SEZ or SEZA and EPZA. And I think from that, I agree and I really support that we need really to have a communication that's well structured, because our incentive systems are more or less the same, except for corporate tax. In the first 10 years, under the EPZ program, an investor does not pay. In the SEZ currently, they pay a corporate tax of 10%. In the next 10 years, under the EPZ program, they pay a corporation tax of 25%. Then after that, 30%. In the SEZ, currently, from the 10, it goes to 15, then 30. That has been causing a little bit of confusion to investors. And remember, we are serving one country. We are one country, we are serving the same investors. And arising out of that, indeed, it is very important that we have this merger process takeoff. And my colleague and myself, we've really participated in the same, because we see that by doing so, one, we'll be able to be very effective in terms of communicating and even serving our investors, both domestic and foreign.
And so what I'm hearing from you is that, you know, there is a point in, you know, us as a country sitting down and looking at these two institutions and asking ourselves, are they playing any overlapping roles, and how can we harmonize, you know, the operations of these two agencies?
Absolutely correct.
I want to hear this from Chelule, and this is also a question that Vimalsha is asking. Why can't we turn all industries in Kenya to be SEZs? Is it possible?
We have a clear program. I know Mr. Vimalsha. I know him. We've engaged here a few times, and I know he's somebody who has contributed to this country. He's raising a good point. First, we have to appreciate why SEZ exists. We know that we need to accelerate development in this country, industrialization. Clearly, there are companies, industries, that will not want to be SEZ, from my experience. For example, automotive. They feel that the incentives they have outside of SEZ are far much better compared to SEZ. There's nothing wrong if one wants to switch from SEZ. But remember this, and this is where Vimalsha maybe where I will want to educate him. SEZ are designated areas. You have to be in a certain space.
You have to operate from that space.
Okay. Many of our Kenyan industries, of course, you know that Nairobi and the metropolitan take around, I think, 90% of the industrial spaces in this country. And Nairobi, they are dotted all over. Being technically, in terms of custom union or custom laws, they are being a foreign country. Then you need to have clear entry and exit so that goods can be monitored going in and coming out. So is the current topography in Nairobi and the country aligned to that? The answer is no. You will get industries all over the place. However, there are industries that are amenable to become SEZ. For example, those in business processing outsourcing. You can easily set condition and say, employ a minimum of these, export your services. And then you qualify to be in SEZ. Correct, because remember this, if we cannibalize the people who are paying taxes, tomorrow there are problems. Who will pay taxes? Having said that, last point, when goods come out of SEZ, they are treated as they have come from outside Kenya. Outside the country. So they'll have to pay whatever relevant taxes required, whether it's 35% duty, 20%, whatever it is. So that is one way in which we cushion companies that are in SEZ from eating those in the country.
And I'm sure, you know, there must be a program whereby you even engage with local investors, you know, the people like Vimal Shah and other companies, for you to try to make some clear understandings on the role of SEZ, EPZA, and of course, industries outside these two organizations, I mean regions. You know, we are running out of time, and because we have to wrap it up, I want to give 30 seconds to each one of you to tell us what is the future of EPZA.
Thank you. The future of the EPZ program is extremely bright. Mm-hmm. It is bright because of the growth that we've experienced, the foreign direct investments that we've been able to attract, and the devolved or the decentralization of the industrial development that we are seeing in the country is as a result of the EPZ program, which fits very well into the special economic zone arrangement. Yeah. And therefore, it is really my sincere hope that we all understand that the role we play as special economic zones, as export processing zones, is critical for the development of this country. Mm-hmm. It's critical in the creation of jobs, decent jobs, and also in really ensuring that we increase our foreign exchange earnings through exports to destinations outside Kenya, and also to really ensure that we enhance skills, because through our program we also have expatriates that transfer skills to local. So in the long run, we are also improving in terms of efficiency as a country, and that is good for us for development.
Chalule.
This is what I have to say. Kenya has abundant resources. Mm-hmm. We've got green energy, well-educated population. Mm-hmm. The infrastructure is developing, railway line, the ports and all this. We have what it takes to be an advanced country and to compete globally as China has with Shenzhen, Dubai, Ethiopia, and people like Morocco, even Nigeria coming up, Rwanda and South Africa. Very good. So I want to appreciate the Kenya Kwanza government for mainstreaming special economic zone agenda. It is the instrument that will deliver us to the industrial levels that we desire to be able to compete globally.
Very good. Chalube, thank you so very much indeed, and thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, you do agree with me that this is part one and we have part two that is pending. We need to come back here and discuss more about the role of special economic zones in Kenya. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a great conversation we've been having here around the role of special economic zones in driving socio-economic development here in Kenya. You have been watching Inside the Government live from Broadcasting House. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We do this again on Wednesday next week. Until then, have a good night.